All right, everybody. Welcome to an all-new live with your boy, Planet CHH, Christian. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you all for being here. I am actually nervous because this woman is amazing. I found her on the internet like a few years ago. And like when you're an Elm Street fan, I always feel like it's like 2-1, right? You always find like 2-1 Halloween and Friday the 13th. But when you're an Elm Street fan, it's hard to find fanatics like you. I feel like this Toronto Freddy. But when I found Diandra on the internet, I was like, this is one of the most amazing people I've ever seen in my life. So let me go ahead and bring her in. And I got a ton of questions I want to ask her. But here she is, Sassysledgehammer Diandra. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm like nervous. You've got me nervous tonight.
Really?
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of you.
Really? I like your cake-worthy sweatshirt.
I know. Thank you. It was only $13. Can you believe that?
Oh, good. Lucky number.
And when you got the Elm Street hoodie that just says Elm Street everywhere, it was from Dumb Good. When I saw you post that, I'm like, God, where did she find this stuff? And then I saw where you got it, and then I got it. I love that. But Diandra, again, thank you for being here. I got a bunch of questions I want to ask you. I've never had the chance to talk to you, so why not do it on the internet? Because that's what people do in 2022, right?
Yeah, and I love talking to other Elm Street fans. Like you were saying, it is kind of hard to come by them. But at the same time, I feel like because of just where I've kind of sat since I've ventured onto the internet, like I just know so many of them. And so it's always a pleasure to get to connect and to talk with more Nightmare fans, because it's basically all that goes on in my head. And I just finally get to let it out with people who know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So Diandra, let's start this from the beginning. And hi to everybody in the chat. If Diandra's cool later in the show, if anybody has questions or they want to say something to her, we'll pull that up. I want to know about you, but let me just set up this as like a preface for me. I have not been a horror fan my whole life. I'm 30 now. I didn't become a horror fan until I was like 18. Okay. And what happened was, and I've told this story a lot, but I've never told you this before. I went to Spirit Halloween one time with my brother, just like on a whim, on my junior year of high school or something. And I just became really enamored. I was just like looking at everything like for the first time. And I knew who Michael was and Friday the 13th, but I never really watched the movies. And I remember I was really enamored with all the characters and stuff I saw. And I remember that night, my mom used to work right next to a Blockbuster. And I said, Mom, can you rent A Nightmare on Elm Street for me? Like, I said, Mom, can you rent Elm Street? Was the first I watched. Sorry, I'm back. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now?
That's okay.
So this happens all the time on my channel, so I apologize. Okay, so
I thought that was me because we've been having internet problems over here, and I was like, "Oh no,
me
what
too.
do I do?"
Where did you lose me?
You were talking about how you asked to get A Nightmare on Elm Street like rental. Right. That was the last thing I heard.
So my mom used to work next to a Blockbuster. So the next day, I was like, Mom, can you rent Elm Street for me? And she came back and she said they didn't have the first one, but they had the second one. Is that cool? I was like, I don't care. That's fine. I was obsessed with that movie from the first time I watched it, and it literally birthed my love for Elm Street. I became I just obsessed. And so that's how it all started for me. And I'm just curious, was it a young thing for you? Did you watch these movies when you were really little? Did somebody expose these movies to you? What's your story and how you became a hardcore?
It's actually kind of funny. I was not a big horror fan. I consider myself a late bloomer. I basically didn't become a horror fan until I was 14. And I was just out on a family vacation, and I had a nightmare that Freddy was after me. And I've of course heard of Freddy because everybody who knows Freddy Krueger he's like Santa Claus, right? And so I had never really seen his movies all the way through. I think I saw quite a bit of Freddy's Dead and then just a couple of scenes of the original Elm Street. But for some reason I had this dream and I woke up and I was just like totally obsessed with him. That was it. And I didn't even know anything about the movie. So I went home and I asked my parents to rent a movie for me, rent one of the Nightmare movies. And I went with them and I picked out Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And I watched that over and over and over again. So it always holds a special place in my heart. And I was basically hooked already. And then I went and got Freddy versus Jason. And then I got Nightmare 4. And then I got the original. And I just fell in love with Nancy Thompson because she just reminded me so much of myself at the time. And I felt like I was seeing myself on screen. And then I heard that she returned to Nightmare 3. So I watched that. And then I think I saw 2 and then 5, and then I waited to see New Nightmare because I wasn't sure how I'd feel because it wasn't actually Freddie and it wasn't actually Nancy. And I hated it at first, but it is my favorite of all time now.
So when did the collecting start?
I would probably say the first year that I became a fan, which was 2017. Or no, not 2017, 2007. Or maybe it was, let's see, it might have even been 2006. For my birthday that year, after I became an Elm Street fan, one of my friends decided to gift me Freddy versus Jason on DVD because until that point in time, I didn't own anything.
Right.
And then that Christmas, she got me my little Freddy doll with the string and that squirtable Freddy head that you have. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, but I'm going to have to hide it because I don't know what my parents are going to say. So I had a little hole in the wall, like mini closet thing that I don't even know what it was there for. And I would just always shove all of my nightmare stuff back there. And then I'd go and I'd visit it. And I just kept getting more and more over time. And eventually my parents allowed me to they were like, it's okay, you could bring it out and put it in your room. And it was small, but then just the more space that I had, the more that I acquired. And then people from time to time would just gift me things. And so my collection gradually became larger and larger. And so this is, gosh, I don't know how many years in the making, but there's so much more in bins. There's so much more that I would love to get. I'm totally out of space. Like there's several figures and a mask over here that I don't have space for anywhere like around here. And there's just so much that I want that I just haven't been able to do anything with yet. So hopefully either in the near future, I could get something where it's just like, it can all be out there. And it's just like, I don't have to worry about having to keep anything hidden or stuffed away because I love it all so much.
So let's stick with the collecting for a minute. So tell me some of your most prized pieces, because whenever you post pictures or TikToks and stuff, I think I could see it, that beautiful painting of Freddy as New Night. Tell me about that. How do you get something like that? What is that?
Yeah, so there's a guy called Not an Artist on Instagram, and he finds and acquires, just like he's constantly hunting down things on eBay, like every day, refreshing, probably multiple times a day, I can imagine, to find these items that are in the movie. Or he's even an artist himself, even though it says Not an Artist. And he painted this New Nightmare Freddy over here. I wish I could show you, but the camera's like right in place. Right. But if anybody wants to see it, it's on my Instagram, and I love to show it off. And it is, I would say, probably my favorite piece because I love New Nightmare so much, and it just feels like I have this large painting directly out of the movie for me. And I love that. I love that. And then also from New Nightmare, he helped me get this.
Oh, she's grabbing something.
And it is Rex from New Nightmare. It is the exact this is not a replica. This is from the 90s. Same brand, same everything as Rex from New Nightmare. Still got the tag on him. No scars or anything like that. But this is like after Nancy's pajamas, Nancy's sledgehammer, I would say that Rex would be one of the things that I would absolutely want to have. And so I love him. I love him. And then I have the hardcover Never Sleep Again books that came out. Yeah. The hardcover one is just because it is so rare to come by. I don't even see any of them on eBay now. Last time I checked, it was like a couple months ago, and one was going for like $600. I was like, holy crap, mine was $50 when I first backed it. And it's beautiful and it's not available. And it just feels so exclusive because it was only for the people that helped make the novelization happen. And let's see, is there anything? There's like so much stuff.
Are you into vinyls? Yeah. Or are you into like the vinyls or anything like that? Any weird formats? Like I know you have the VHS tapes and stuff. Like I'm a big Laserdisc guy, and it took me a while to get all those, and took me a couple bucks, quite frankly. But
I actually started a Laserdisc collection over here on the wall. I have the first Nightmare, the second Nightmare, Freddy's Dead, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and then also Robert's Phantom of the Opera
Look
on
at this.
Laserdisc.
She got
Oh
the
my gosh, hi.
got the
You
cameraman
moved
and
it.
everything. That's awesome.
But yeah, of course the light is shining on New Nightmare. But yeah, I started collecting those because I just thought it was such an interesting thing to have. And then I have like all the different VHS tapes. I really wanted the box set on VHS of Freddy, like from New Nightmare going like this. And I'm like, I'm never gonna find that. And one day I went
Right.
to a flea market and my parents were like, yeah, come to this with us. And I was like, well, I want to find something Elm Street, but I don't know if I will. And then right before I walked out is boom, it's that VHS set that I wanted. And I was like, oh, of course I'm gonna get it while I'm here. And
Right.
so yeah, I love
I'm
that.
on the hunt for that. The laser discs are so cool. Like this
Mhm.
is one of my favorites. It's a Japanese part 5,
Oh,
and I got it
nice.
reversed so you could see all the amazing art. The funny thing is, it's a part 4 picture, right? But it's
It's weird.
it's really fun. The collecting's my favorite thing, and um, yeah, I remember you posting one time that you had the cassette single for the Fat Boys. And I remember you
Yeah,
said,
right here.
yeah, you get the cassette. And there's a place about an hour from me where I bought this, and there were 2 of them. And I got this last year, but it's always been there. If you don't have that, I'd be more than happy to go get that because it was cheap. I'd get it and send it to you if you don't have the vinyl for
Yeah,
it.
and then just let me know how much it was because I wanted to get this first because I had never really seen this and I saw the vinyl, but I didn't pick it up because I was like, I'll get this
The
and then I'll get
cassettes are
that.
cool. Yeah.
But like if it's still there, absolutely let me know how much
It
and
was cheap.
I will
It would
totally
be a
get it.
gift. It'd be no problem. But
Okay.
yeah, I got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. So
Yeah. Let's go.
one of the things I've seen you involved with, and
Mhm.
I want to know more. I haven't inquired more, and sometimes I want to hit you up and ask you about it. But I'm like, I could tell Deandra's a woman on the go. She's always, I just like, I don't want to bother. I don't want to bother about that, blah, blah. But tell me about this FredHeads documentary because I've seen about this and I'm so interested. I want to know about this. When can I see this? Am I able to see this? Tell me your story, your involvement, because clearly you're involved in it. What's this whole thing going on?
So FredHeads is basically a story about the A Nightmare on Elm Street community and fans all over the globe and when they first became a fan, what Nightmare means to them, what Freddy means to them, what other cast and characters mean to them from the films, and how it's changed their life. And it is underneath truly a testament to how people use media to overcome their own personal Freddies, whether it's feeling like an outcast, having a bully, battling with depression, whatever it might be, and just kind of how we've all connected with each other and how this community works. And it follows a core group of fans, which I'm one of them. So basically, my whole story from the very beginning is laid out on the table, and it includes a lot of my old YouTube videos when I was under the name, I think it was Nancy of Elm Street,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just come on in my Nancy Thompson cosplay and just talk about how much I love Heather. And there's a
Right.
bunch of those in there from when I was like 16, 17. And we just went to conventions. We got some snippets from Andres Jones and Lisa Wilcox and Toy Newkirk, who provide a lot of great insight onto this. But it is a huge feature on fans. So we have in-person testimonials, and then we have places we went to film people, and then we had video submissions for people who we couldn't quite make it to. And that documentary premiered. It has been going on since actually 2017 is when we started. And we kept saying, okay, we're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up. And every year we were like, there's this convention and we could add this, we could do this. And it just kept going and going because we wanted to kind of tell a pretty deep story over a period of time and get as many fans in as we possibly could.
Right.
And making a documentary in itself, I mean, we have two directors and they're both the editors, and they would just spend multiple 13-hour days going through this thing and all the footage and making it work and then testing it and coming back to it and editing it. And so that premiered at Horror Hound Weekend in Cincinnati this past September. And we had quite a few people, and we were so nervous because you never know how people are going to react. And we had people in tears, people that we wouldn't have expected were just like, this really moved me. It's incredible. I didn't even know why I liked the Nightmare franchise, but this kind of gave me an understanding of why it means so much to me. And then they just really, really loved it. People who were in the movie and people who we'd never even talked to before, knew anything. Some guy bought a ticket to Horror Hound just to see the movie. And he was like, let's see what this is all about. And he came out and he raved about it on TikTok, and we were just blown away. We were so excited. And so we have a release date, and we are inching up on an announcement with some news in the near future within the next couple of weeks that we'll be able to share with everybody on when they can all watch FredHeads, the documentary.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It sounds like it's something special. That's great. That's awesome. So I'm assuming you're big into going to conventions and things like that. Do you live near a hotbed of conventions, or do you travel? I'm from Louisiana, so like I have one.
Oh,
I have Texas Frightmare. It's in Dallas. It's about a 3
yeah,
hour. It's
I've
a nice
been.
one. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's in our documentary. We went and we
Really?
filmed quite a bit there. Yeah, I actually am. I'm in the middle. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, which is in the dead center of a lot of convention activity in the
Right.
Midwest. And I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, and I wanted to be closer to conventions. And so I moved several hours away to here in Columbus, and conventions, and there are a lot of conventions in Indy and a lot of conventions in Cincinnati. Some are here. And so we're just super close to some of the really, really big horror cons. I would say Horror Hound is one of the biggest, and the other one is Days of the Dead. And then if I wanted to go to Scarefest, I think that's probably like 3 hours away, and that's in Kentucky. And just a bunch of other ones are not too far away. And then yeah, some of the other ones are just a short flight, but I don't have to go too far. So I'm pretty lucky, and that's kind of why I want to stay here in Ohio, is just so I can be close to all these cons.
Right.
It's one thing that I think of.
Yeah. That's killer. I don't know what the hell's going on with my camera. So it should stop in a second. Let me see. I tell you, are you a Mac person?
Yes.
I'm a Mac person too, and I always have trouble with this stuff.
I totally get it. I don't know about you, but like over the last couple of weeks or so, my technology in general has just been like, it's been on the pooper. It's been not working even on 5G. And I'm just like, what's going on here? Why? And I keep Googling it, like, is there a technology problem? And everyone's like, no, we're not going to talk about that. And I'm like, is something going on that I should know about?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I got it. So your social medias are pretty awesome. And all your quality of the stuff that you do is killer. I mean,
Thanks.
are you involved in like any sort of like, do you do anything with like film, or do you have like, what's your story with how your quality on everything? It's just, everything is so high quality. It's amazing, especially your TikToks and your videos and your YouTube videos. Even now, your camera just looks like so professional. How are you involved with that kind of world with filming and audio and that kind of thing? Or
Well, I will say that my boyfriend, whose name is Jason, out of all the names in the world, yeah, which is why we have a short little like 30-second video series called Freddy versus a guy named Jason, where it's just about him being a roommate with Freddy Krueger, and Freddy's just this like dorky guy who's trying to turn over a new leaf. And so yeah, that is him, and he is so into filming. He has done filming and editing and photography for quite a while, and he researches that everything like crazy. So he knows a bunch of stuff about cameras, about equipment, sound. I mean, it's completely him. He makes everything look and sound so good. So yeah, I know he's watching.
Jason's the man, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm just here. I just sit down and
well, you're
go,
the star.
I like Freddy Krueger.
You're the star. That's obvious. So have you you've probably met everybody from these movies, right? I'm sure you've met Dan, Lisa, all that.
Yeah,
right?
I have met a ton of people from the movies, and anytime there's pretty much somebody from Elm Street, I will go.
Do they know you on a first name basis now? I'm sure I'm assuming you've seen them more than once.
Right? Yeah, quite a few. Robert does not, although Robert has like popped on to one like in 2012 or something like that, when I was doing just Nancy cosplay after cosplay. His Facebook account, that is like his legit Facebook account, commented and was like, wow, great look. And I was like, sick. Yes. And then beyond that, like, I really haven't talked to Robert. I've met him a couple times. I finally got him on my big poster, which I have a big poster. I always can't tell.
Jason?
Right here.
Where's Jason?
Yeah.
Come on, Jason. No, maybe he'll show it.
And it's just got all the signatures of everybody that I could meet that's in the Elm Street franchise, because I'm not really big into autographs, but I love getting pictures with people. And I figure if I'm going to get autographs, I want to get just autographs from the people who mean the most to me and just have it on display. And so just having all these names of all the people in the Elm Street films, whether they're cast or crew, or, you know, whether they sneezed on set, like, you're going on the poster.
Right.
And so yeah, a lot of them when you see them, they go, hey, how's it going? Or Heather and I have a pretty good relationship, which is amazing to me. Yeah. I'm sorry, I keep hitting this microphone. This is the first time I've usually had this big microphone right here, and I'm a very expressive person. But yeah, so her and I have a pretty good relationship, which, if anybody likes fan films, so what was it, 2016, my friends and I made a fan film called Don't Fall Asleep, which is the story of Nancy between Nightmares 1 and 3. And it follows a lot of what either was supposed to be in, like, mentioned kind of in the movies, or from the comic book series by Innovation Publishing, Nightmares on Elm Street, which was 1991, which was the prequel, technically supposed to be to Freddy's Dead. And a lot of just, it's considered canon, and whatever's in there about Nancy, there's one page that talks basically about her life after what happened in the first movie and then on to college. And we just took that and we filmed this documentary. I'm so used to saying that. This film, and Heather agreed to play the voiceover of Nancy from Beyond the Grave. So she is in it several times, voicing like Nancy's thoughts and things like that. So
where can we see this?
This is on YouTube.
Okay. And it's called, remind me the name again. It was called
Don't Fall Asleep.
Don't Fall Asleep. Okay, awesome. I gotta see this. I didn't know about this.
Well, I hope you like it. But yeah, it is definitely out there. It is meant to feel like it's a movie from the 80s. So hopefully everybody gets that.
Excellent.
So we'll see.
Thank you, Dino. 49 Super Chat. He says, great discussion tonight, Christian. Thank you so much, Dino. I appreciate it. So when I was, I got a few more places I want to go, but I'm just kind of bouncing off the wall right now. But your TikTok is amazing, and you're so freaking creative with the stuff that you do. I'm jealous in a good way, not a bad way. I'm just like, I want to be creative like Diandra is. Like, where did these ideas come from with all this stuff? Is it a collaboration with Big Money Jason, who's running the cameras, that helps you up with stuff? Are you just like, let's try this, because you're funny, and all the voiceover stuff you do with these clips? Where do you get these ideas from? Who inspires you? Does anybody inspire you to come up with this stuff too? How do you do it? It's
on the TikTok?
Oh, the TikTok. Your TikTok is amazing. You got a huge following on there. And I don't take that away. Some people say, oh, it's easy to get followers on TikTok. I have a TikTok. Nobody cares. But like your stuff is great. What's the formula? How did you get all that success on there?
Well, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. It first started from, and this is where I get a little bit torn with the whole social media scope and like how you should approach it. And I started it, I believe, as just doing a lot more horror and cosplay content. And I am also a big fan of the TV show Once Upon a Time. And I'd had a few people tell me that I resemble Regina. And I was like, "Oh, I love her." And I
You do.
was making a video for a friend. Thank you. I was making a video for a friend and decided, okay, she made this TikTok for me while I'm in costume. I'm going to do it. And it did better than any of my other videos. So I did another one and it did even better. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is the niche. And I just kept making Regina videos. And it was a lot of jumping on trends. I mean, that is really the secret sauce for a lot of TikTok is jumping on trends. If you have a particular like thing that's your thing that you notice that people really like, you keep doing that and you jump on trends and you get picked up and you just keep building the engagement and the audience. And really, Regina is what made me get to where I am. I think it was pretty quick growth. But then I have some horror content sprinkled in there, and I try to have Freddie because even though I think a lot of people followed me for Regina, I also love other things that I like to have fun with,
Right.
and I'm torn because I feel like if I was to follow somebody, because there's a Freddy, there's Ghostface, there's people who have specific content, and if they shook it up a little bit, I don't know if I would be as interested. It was kind of be that thing that I followed them for, and I think a lot of people followed me for Regina, and
Right.
so that's why I'm trying to bring her back. But just thinking about like, how can I take this trend and make it something that she would do or something that would be funny with Freddie? Because I really love playing into the idea that I have this human looking Freddie mask that makes me look like Robert, like it does with everybody else. And just being a girl who has it and being a Freddie fan and just doing like girl things,
Oh,
and then
it's
all of a
great.
sudden it's boom, it's Freddy Krueger, and I find that to be so funny. So that's why my new caption is Regina in the streets, Freddy in the sheets.
Oh, I love it. My favorite one, and I know who Jason is now. I've seen him because he's in the videos. It's it's when the little kids and the parents are at like some convention, and they start freaking out, and they run up to you and Jason, and you think they're gonna hug you, and then they go and hug Jason. That was a funny one. That's great. That's just great. So, so really quick, look, Cody Lepke, $5 super chat. Thank you, Planet CHH, Captain Sassy Media, are
Hi,
both stellar
buddy.
and rad. Thank you so much, Cody. So let me ask you this. Now, I'm just asking you this, Diandra, as a fellow content person, creator. Is it do the hashtags really matter as much, or because you've been there, you've got the success, or is it really you just gotta put out some good stuff. You gotta be creative. What's the checks and balances on that? I'm just asking for me now.
It's tough because I still try to figure out things. I mean, there's a ton of research from like Hootsuite or Sprout Social or HubSpot or things like that. Because actually, in my day life, I am a social media and content person for the corporate world, and that's
I
part of the
believe it.
reason why
Yeah.
they picked me. It's a little bit harder to do. It's a little bit harder to do, but they, I mean, I've noticed a lot of social media platforms just pulling back. A lot of the hashtags don't necessarily work. For some TikToks, they say don't really add hashtags because they don't necessarily get like picked up as much. It could limit your audience. And then on Instagram, they say like 3 to 4 hashtags where people will have like a paragraph, which I still do. But now I'm trying to reduce it to see if that changes anything. But I really think it doesn't matter if you have those hashtags or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of having content that people want to watch and how you execute that content. It doesn't even necessarily need to be great quality, because looking at my old TikToks when it was my ring light in my phone, an older iPhone, they were not that great, but people still loved them. And that was when I got my most popular TikTok video, which I still think is the dumbest video. I have no idea why people even like that video, but whatever. It's almost at 9 million views. And it is just I just really think it has to be something that people like. That's why the whole Regina thing, when it caught on, I went hard with that. But then in everything else I do, my personality trait online is a Nightmare on Elm Street. So I think you just have to differentiate yourself from everybody else in some way. And I think it's a lot harder now because of how many people there are. And a lot of people who talk about their success don't ever, nobody really stops to think, okay, when did they start this? Because a lot of people started their content many, many years ago before it became super popular to do it, where almost everybody's doing it now. And that time frame, that sweet spot is really helped them out. And I really owe a lot of my credit, I think, to being somebody who got online pretty quickly, loved Nancy, made that my personality, went out and found other Nancy fans. Nobody else was doing what I was, and then just basically found every A Nightmare on Elm Street, anything, anywhere in like 2008, 2009, really hard in 2010, and just went there and just kind of grew with the community. And I think that was really the big thing for me. But then my Twitter picked up later when I started just posting a lot of memes. People love funny stuff on Twitter. They really, really do.
And that's one of my favorite things, like, about following you is, like, it's always just fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's always just fun stuff that I see you do, and it's just it inspires me. What can I say? Like I wasn't kidding when I said I was nervous to bring you on. I'm a big fan. Like, I'm not, you know. So it's just awesome that you're here. But really quick, Toronto Freddy gave us a $2 super chat. Says, Diandra, have you seen the DNN Freddy promo pics? What does that mean?
Dylan's New Nightmare. Yeah, by Womp Stomp Films. I have. And they look cool, but I am curious to see how the movie's going to go. I know that they did a really good job with Never Hike Alone. I saw Never Hike in the Snow. I haven't seen that yet. But I know that Miko's in it, and I was talking to him last week, and he was saying how excited he is about it. But I rewatched the teaser that was released about 3 years ago, and I'm just like, it feels like it's supposed to be a sequel to New Nightmare, but it has the feel of an original Elm Street film franchise entry that is a little bit, in my eyes, like Freddy's Dead Freddy mixed with Nightmare 4 Freddy. And so I'm curious. I'm sure I'm going to love it. I guess I'm still like, it's supposed to be New Nightmare. It's supposed to be a little more serious, but at the same time, we have like this just a dreamlike element where it seems that Freddy is like just normal Freddy and not like the demonic Freddy. I'm a little torn about that. I'm curious to see where they go with it, but I don't want to judge a book by its cover. But thus far, it just feels like it doesn't quite fit. But I think because it's made so well and it's made by people who are pretty well known for making good fan films, I think it'll get pretty far, because well-made fan films, even if they're just 30-second teasers, get traction with a lot of people. So I'm sure it's going to be successful, but I have to see, because I do love fan films. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street fan films. I'll watch them forever.
Right. Have you seen Confession of Fred? I'm sure you have. Isn't that one really good? That one, I had to watch it twice.
Good. I love that one. I watched it. They premiered it at Horror Hound in 2015 in Horror Hound Cincinnati, right after Wes died. And I was there for the premiere of it. And I was just like so blown away. Nathan, who made the film, actually asked me if I would be able to come to Kentucky to be Nancy at the very end. And yeah, and I was like,
were you busy?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I think I was in college or somewhere, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, son of a gun, I wish I could. So he's like, could you send me the pajamas? And I was like, they're so out of shape because I made them in 2011 and they had just been beaten up. And I was like, I don't want anybody else wearing this unless I was to have it dry cleaned. But yeah, I love Confession. I think Kevin Roach, who plays Freddy, is the perfect example of somebody who could, of what you can do. Like, that's not Robert. You can have somebody who embodies the essence of Freddy, doesn't necessarily look like Freddy, but when you watch him, it's Freddy.
Yeah. It's it factor. Oh man, yeah.
And I have a question for you. Sure. Do you prefer the idea that Freddy is a loner, like in basically Nightmare 1, or like the family man? What do you think of that angle? I know that people have opinions, but which one do you think fits Freddy better, or that you like better?
You know, I've never thought about that, but gut instinct is family man, because the fact that he can have a family and fool people that close to him, that happens in real life with the BTK killer and stuff like that. To me, that's scarier than the loner. So if I had to, just off the top of my head, I gotta say family. I like the family thing. Not that I love that in Confession he's a loner, but the family thing creeps me out. Like if he can have a kid and a wife, and they're like, "What? He was doing what?" Like that scares the hell out of me.
I do. I like that too. I know a lot of people are like, he would never be a family man, but like it makes perfect sense. You see a loner on the street who's like, hey, hey, you're like, that dude is definitely a killer. Like you would have been my first thought for the Springwood slasher. But the family man thing, like what a betrayal. Like what a shock. He seems like the guy that everybody's like, oh, Fred, come on over for some lemonade.
Right.
But he's not.
Oh my God.
Spooky.
So let me ask you this, because I want to talk about your YouTube channel and things like that. But while we're on the subject of movies, where are you at right now? I've seen you on Twitter being like, one of these days it'd be nice if we get another Elm Street. But what does that mean to Diandra? What does a new Elm Street movie mean to Diandra? Does that mean Robert Englund? Does that mean Joe Blow playing Freddy? Where are you at with that? Because on my podcast, this is a conversation every other day. And I'll flip-flop. One day I'm like, you know what? There can be a new Freddy. I'd rather not know who the actor is. If I don't know him, I can disassociate and that can be Freddy. And then there's other days where I'm like, Robert is to Freddy what Stallone is to Rocky. Like it's just, you can try, there will never be. But I go back and forth. Do you have that internal battle as well? Or do you have what do you want?
I do. And it's actually pretty strong in one particular area. And I am a let's move on from Robert person. I think that Robert is pretty done with Freddy, even though he might not see it. I know some things. But I think that Robert is just getting to a point where I don't know if he would put his heart and soul into Freddy in the way that he has to give us a pretty good performance. I would love to see Robert come back as the voice of Freddy for a really great video game in the style of, the Friday the 13th or Evil Dead ones. But I don't think that I would like to see somebody new step into the role. And I really don't want it to be somebody known. I know a lot of people are like Kevin Bacon, but I'm like, you only want Kevin Bacon because Robert wants Kevin Bacon. Like you don't really want, oh, well, thank you for saying that about Womp Stomp production. That is good to know because
if it's Vincent,
I'd followed them and I saw a lot on their Instagram, but that's good to know.
Thank you, Toronto. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. What I was going to say is, where was
you ready to move on? You want somebody?
Oh yes,
and a video game audio for a video game and things like that.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people just want Robert. And it's not necessarily something that is going to be, a good movie. I feel like they just want Robert and that's going to be it. That's going to make or break whatever it is. And they're so tied to Robert, but they're not thinking about actually just getting a good movie. Because I feel like if we get Robert back, they'll be like, oh, it's Robert. I'm so excited. And then it might be a lackluster performance. Not saying that I'm going to predict what he's going to do, but I just feel like he's done it and he's gotten a little confident and comfortable. And I don't really know if it would be like a return to something scary, but still remaining Freddy, like it was a New Nightmare. But I feel like Robert also is not going to appease everybody. Because if we look at the way that his return was on the Goldbergs, he came back and they showed the makeup and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. And a lot of people in the comments were like, oh, he looks a little old to be Freddy now. And so it's just a testament that just because Robert is Freddy doesn't mean everybody's going to like it or that it's going to be a successful film. And so I think as long as somebody gets a good actor who is comfortable taking on his own interpretation, but he understands Freddy, and we get a studio that will stay out of the way. Last I heard was that a lot of the writers had created a script and the actor signed on for the script for the remake. And then when they got on set, it was a hodgepodge of different things that were basically not what they agreed upon. And I have the owner of the Nightmare on Elm Street Films.com website was on set when they were filming the remake. And he was like, there were just so many hands in the pot. So a lot of like Jackie was trying to come out and do his own Freddy. And they were like, nope, pull it back. And so there were just a lot of people kind of who wanted a piece. And I think that that really affected the remake in a lot of ways. And so I just feel like if there was a Mike Flanagan who definitely respects A Nightmare on Elm Street and he did something, I feel, or just another director out there, but Mike Flanagan definitely respects the franchise.
Sure.
Even the Duffer Brothers, but I would like to see something a little darker, a little bit like maybe like Mindhunter kind of tone, little rustic. I mean, my honestly, my preference for an Elm Street movie could even be a mini series that is a prequel that follows Don Thompson and the town as they chase down the Springwood slasher. So we get to see a little bit of Freddy, but it has the horror elements and the detective drama elements that I think could appeal to horror fans as well as the general audience. And I think that it would be a heck of a story to see all of those things unfold. And it would provide a lot of tension, and you'd have an end goal, and then maybe something would go from there. But ultimately, to answer your question, I would like somebody new.
Now, let me ask you this, though, on the other side of the coin. This is kind of a weird question, but do you also, like Diandra, I am so all over the place when it comes to Elm Street and new movies. Do you ever have days like me? There are some days where I say to myself, you know what? I've got 8 movies, 9 movies, I guess if you include Freddy vs. Jason. I've got so much to enjoy. You know what? Let's just put it to bed. Do you ever have those days too, where you're just like, what else do I need? I've got this amazing. Or do you're down? You always want another one. Do you want this generation's Elm Street, so to speak?
I do. I really do. And maybe it's just a fact that this is all I really, 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 really care about. And so I
feel
just
ya.
want it to keep
I
going.
understand.
But I feel like it's also the golden age of slashers, and everybody who is anybody is getting a resurgence.
And we're gonna
Except
miss the
for
boat if it
Freddy.
doesn't happen. Right.
Yes, it needs to happen. And I feel like Warner Brothers, I mean, I know from somebody who's pretty close to Warner Brothers that they are in fact in talks with a contract for something Elm Street. When
Right.
that news will break, we don't quite know. There have been some rumors flying around that it could be in the spring, but nothing is confirmed.
Right.
And I just feel like we could get some good stories. I just feel like Freddy and Elm Street is more than what we already have. It's more than Robert Englund. It's more than one movie that didn't quite pick up with a lot of fans. I feel like the lessons that Freddy provides are evergreen, and I think that it would be now, and I feel like if they did an Elm Street film now, I think it could potentially just super duper ignite the fandom again in a way that I think, I mean, you'd mentioned about how there being Michael and Jason fans. And I think part of that is that they've continuously had stuff, but Freddy hasn't. So we just can't fallen by the wayside.
I mean,
And
with
you
the
go
video,
into any store. Yeah.
the video game and the new Halloween movies. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, you're right. It's just, it sucks, but I'm kind of a punk rocker too. So it's like, I don't really hate it as much that, we're a little fewer and farther between as well. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I don't hate the remake. I hated it at first. There's a whole video about me out there dressed as Nancy after coming back out of high school and going to see it by myself. And I hated it at first, but I've watched it over and over again over the years, and I enjoy it as a movie. There are things that I think they could have done better, and I think whatever they come up with next could be even better. I just feel like they didn't quite nail the CGI. The script was not that great. It looked a little too polished. The teenagers weren't quite as relatable for, I think, a lot of people, although some people really, really gravitated toward Nancy Holbrook because they had a lot of similar experiences. So it's just not my relatable story, but I don't hate the movie.
Yeah. Really quick, Jerry Nelson with the $10 super chat. Thank you. Robert did to Freddy what Arnold did to the Terminator. Comedic elements of the characters, lost the darker elements. Great show so far. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. So, all right. So a few more things I want to talk to you about. You mentioned Warner Brothers. Obviously, whatever kind of behind the scenes stuff, I understand that you can't talk about that. It's private. But I'm assuming you're also somewhat of a physical media person too, and I'm sure you're just like everybody else. You want an Elm Street box set. do you think the potential of whatever's going on with said possibility of a film has stopped? Is that what stopped? Because Diandra, when you see a lot of people on the internet, and I don't mean to give them any guff about this because they're just passionate, but they don't understand. They'll say, "Why won't Scream Factory make a Elm Street box set?" And I'm always like, guys, you really think they just have not thought about it? Of course, they're not able to. Do you think Warner Brothers, because of a new movie and things like that, they're like, we're not going to give you this because is this because we have a possibility of new stuff on the horizons from Warner Brothers themselves, and that's why they've put a halt on licensing out the Elm Street films to Scream Factory, in your opinion?
I think it's a possibility. I think that Warner Brothers is also in a little bit of a tiff with the Craven estate that has certain rights to Freddy and Nightmare in the United States. And I think they're trying to find the right balance for both. They're probably just trying to come to some sort of settlement with them for whatever they might be able to do in the near future, because the latest official news that we had was, of course, that the Craven estate was accepting script submissions for something in Nightmare on Elm Street. And it was just the Craven estate. It wasn't really what Warner Brothers attached. And so I think Warner Brothers wants a piece. And about 3 years ago, I was with a friend who worked in the merchandising section of Warner Brothers, and she had said that Warner Brothers was kind of discontinuing Elm Street things because they weren't as profitable at the time.
What?
Yep. But that was right before the slasher boom. And now there are little things that Warner Brothers is doing that makes me think that they are trying to take advantage of what they currently have the rights to, as well as not lose the Elm Street momentum, like a lot of the cake-worthy items, or they're doing a lot of these different collaborations. There is a coffee maker called, oh my goodness, I am so sorry to them. I'm blanking. It's a bat. But they have in A Nightmare on Elm Street coffee blend, and I feel so bad because I've done a lot of work with them.
I'll Google it while you're talking.
Dead Sled Coffee. Okay. Yes, Dead Sled Coffee, and they are. I don't know if they've talked about the whole thing. They've worked with Robert, and then they have their first A Nightmare on Elm Street coffee blend that they released in partnership with Warner Brothers, who is extremely protective of the Nightmare brand. And given that they're letting up the reins a little bit, and there's actually more to the Dead Sled story, it seems like Warner Brothers is trying to keep the momentum and trying to build, but wants something to happen, because I think they realized that they were wrong before, and whatever happened, they need to jump on it now.
Yeah, 100%. Well, fingers crossed, Diandra. I mean, I love all the merchandise and shirts and stuff. And I go into Hot Topic sometimes. I'm just always like, son of a bitch, man. Like, it's hard to find Freddy stuff, and it just sucks.
Do you remember in like 2008 when they had more horror stuff in Hot Topic, and now it's like a rarity? There's like some T-shirts, but there's not really anything.
During Halloween here and there, you'll see a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's usually Chucky shirts and stuff like that.
There's a lot of Ghostface right now.
A lot of Ghostface. So let's pivot really quick. So your YouTube channel. Now, you've had this channel for what now? About a year and some change. Captain Sassy.
I would say, yeah.
What happened? Where was the inspiration for that? Was it just like, hey, let's get back into the YouTube game kind of thing, or?
Yeah, Jason and I both had the shared love of YouTube, and I had several times over the years decided like, oh, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. And when I tried one on my own, just randomly, I just kind of got bored with it. The only one that I really, really liked was, of course, when I did the Diandra of Elm Street, so the Elm Street content, and then I did Elm Street content again when we had Elm Street Radio, which we're trying to bring back, and that's the podcast related to A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then we were like, well, we want to go places, and we want to kind of show a lot of the different stuff that I like to get into. And we want to be able to kind of learn this space and to use Jason's camera and audio and just like all that wicked talent he has. And so we were like, well, what could we call this channel? And his nickname across the board is the Captain. And mine, of course, is Sassysledgehammer. So that's how we came up with Captain Sassy. And we were like, well, we want to have like a main show that kind of keeps going over time. And that's where Snacks and Screams came up with, because there were a lot of horror movies that I'd never seen that were pretty popular that people had talked about. And of course, I have thoughts on them. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to watch horror movies as a horror fan that I've never seen before, but that people talk about. And I'm going to eat snacks, because what is a movie without snacks? But kind of make these snacks coincide with the movies, because snack content, eating content, even though I think it's kind of weird, is popular on YouTube. And so I was like, well, might as well marry the two and come up with this show. And it is just basically everything that happens in our brains, including thoughts and reviews about a movie, and just like put into each and every one of these reviews. So yeah, that's a little bit about it. And then we want to do more interviews, and we actually have a couple of like documentaries and our shorts content that we just want to do, just to have a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and everybody watching, and if you're watching this live or after the fact, definitely go to Captain Sassy Media and subscribe. I mean, your channel's growing pretty quick, but the content's great, so it's like it's not really a surprise to me. You know, it's just.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So this has been fun. So Diandra, let me ask you a few more things. Like, so we were talking about your ELM Street collection earlier, and obviously you've got some amazing stuff. What's your white whale? Something you're just like, oh my God, I need this one of these days? Or is it getting harder to, as you acquire more and more of these?
There is one white whale, and I've seen it in person.
Oh.
And it's Nancy's pajamas.
Now, when you say you've seen it in person, was this like at a Planet Hollywood or something, or like you saw it like
in 2015 at Horror Hounds? Heather brought the pajamas.
Oh, she's got
them. Yeah, she's got them, and she hung them up on the wall, and I stood there just staring at them, and I was like, that's freaking them. That's Nancy's battle armor. Like that is everything that I could possibly want. And she probably is going to pass them on to her daughter, but God, if she would just let me have them, just die.
Hey, why don't you ask her?
I'm going to. Next time I'm going to be like, hey, how's it going? By the way, who are you giving the pajamas to? Not to like say that you're going to kick the bucket soon, but we should, talk about this. But if I can't get the pajamas, I at least want to just recreate her pajamas now that I have the resources that I didn't have when I was 16 years old to make the pajamas. I was just hunting around. The embroidery was kind of off. I mean, it was just this teenager who was trying to do her best. And I did really darn good. And I was really happy with it. But I would love to recreate those pajamas and have them like in a little shadow box somewhere that I could look at and maybe wear sometimes. I don't know, maybe for fun. But yeah, that would be my white whale, would be Nancy's actual pajamas, and then just a very, very good replica of Nancy's pajamas. What about you?
Well, I kind of got it. It's a dumb baby Freddy behind me. I've always it's my favorite thing I've got in here, man. I saw it when me and my wife got married about 5 years ago now. Somebody showed me on the internet, like, hey, David Miller makes baby Freddy's. And I was like, no, he doesn't. And sure enough, I saw it on eBay. And then I went to go get it for my wedding present. And he pulled the listing. No. And then a few years ago, somebody says, hey, Christian, remember that baby Freddy? That guy's got it on eBay again. So I immediately emailed David Miller. I gave him my phone number. And I said, hey, I'm really interested. Can you please call me? And I talked to him. And I was just like, oh, my God, you're David Miller. But he was like, yeah, man, they're made to order, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't cheap, but it was. I've always wanted it. My wife was just like, just get it, Christian. I'm sick of you talking about it. Just get this stupid baby Freddy. But that's kind of one of my things. And some of those video store displays, like I had a buddy that hooked me up with a guy who used to work for media, home entertainment. He gave me that part 2, and if I can get out the way, I got a part 4 back there. But I love all that. I love collecting all that stuff. But I always wanted the part 5 video store display with the carriage. I love part 5 stuff. I just love collecting all the part 5 stuff.
Where does part 5 sit on your list?
not too high, but then again, I love all of them. Like this, my all-time favorite is number 2. To me, that's my new nightmare. That's
I
not
love that.
Freddy. You know, that's the devil. You know, because that's not the Freddy from part 1 to me. That's the
Mm-hmm.
devil. This is somebody saying, "I don't care about dreams. I'm coming in." To me, that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the my. That's probably one of my all-time favorite movies ever. Is part 2, and I was like I was telling you earlier, that's the one that movie hooked me. If I would have watched part 1 first, I may not be here with you right now. It could have swayed everything, but part 2 really changed my life. I became
That's
obsessed
awesome.
with Elm Street. It scared the
I
shit
think it's
out of
the
me.
most sinister version of Freddy
Oh,
that there is. He's the most terrifying. And that the kids in the video of Freddy versus a guy named Jason that you were talking about, their dad, he and I met because we both love Nightmare 2. And he just loves, like, he's one of those biggest Nightmare 2 fans of all times. So if
nice.
you're looking for a friend to talk Nightmare 2 with, his name is Jim, and he loves Nightmare 2 so much. So I think you guys should totally
I
connect
want
over
to
your love
I
for Nightmare 2.
I want to talk to him. Yeah, but no, 2 2 3 1 2 1 3, depending on the day. That's my top 3. I dig them all. I mean, the remake's my least, I guess. And I used to be a little bit on Freddy versus Jason, but I was reading this book called Slash of the Titans, and it's going
Mm,
over all the scripts that and Diandra, a lot of them were really bad. Now that I'm looking
yeah.
back, we're kind of blessed to get the movie that we got. Still got problems, but I always tell people Robert's always great. So it's like you can't
Yeah.
tell me that Robert wasn't good in Freddy.
It's a
He was
popcorn
amazing,
movie. Like
right?
whenever I'm like, guys, you want to watch a fun movie? They're like, okay. I'm like, you want to watch something with Freddy in it? They're like, DeAndre, not the films again. I'm like, hold on. We're gonna watch Freddy
Freddy
versus
versus
Jason. Like,
Jason.
that's
Yeah.
it, man. That is it. I still want to throw a rave in a cornfield because of that movie. That is my dream one day.
Oh man. Oh, that's awesome. Deandra, you gotta make me a promise. So one day,
Okay.
if another Elm Street film comes up, obviously, you got your channel and you're probably gonna do videos of whenever it comes out though, I want you to come back on my channel and I want us to review a new Elm Street film. I
Let's
think
do it.
I gotta do it. But
You'll
for
be the
real,
first person I talk to about it.
that'd be great. I mean, I'm not just trying to blow you up. Like really, I just think you're awesome. I love the content you make. I just think you inspire me. Like no lie. Like when I found your stuff and I was like, look at this girl with all her Elm Street stuff and she's just so proud of it. She's just like so confident. Like I was just like I want to be like Deandra. So you kind of like made. I've always been an Elm Street. I say always. Whenever I was an Elm Street fan, my room never was really representative of it. I just was like, I want to have all kinds of horror stuff in here. But you kind of inspired my Freddy wall in a way, where I just took all the like. Because when I saw your room, I was like, no, this is amazing. Why have I not been doing this? I tell people I love these films. They're my heart and soul, just like you. You kind of like no lie. You really kind of inspired my Freddy wall. So
Dude,
you're
thank
awesome.
you. I'm so honored by that. Like, and this is in FredHeads, but just like, being the girl that people pick on because you have obsessions. Like they had something in the yearbook that was like, what if Deandra didn't have obsessions? And I was like, I don't know what would happen, because I'm like, I don't know what people think about or do if they don't have these things that they really, really love. And just for the longest time, I mean, being surrounded by people who can spell Heather Langenkamp. Oh my God, are you serious? That name is so hard. And just spell Freddy Krueger right, like, and can rattle off these and just cares enough and like knows what I mean, it's like amazing to me. So thank you so much for just like saying that, but also, I hope to talk more. Like you can message me anytime and I will talk Elm Street or whatever with you. And the next time something does come out, whatever it is, let's talk about it.
Let's talk
Because
about it.
it's
Yeah.
always on my mind.
Good, good. Well, Deandra, before we wrap it up, is there anything you want to tell the people where, in case they're not, because I see some of my viewers, they're saying, "Oh, I'm subscribing to her." Go subscribe to Deandra on YouTube, Captain Sassy. But tell everybody what your tags are, where they can find you, where you're most active, all that good stuff.
So yes, on YouTube it is Captain Sassy Media. And basically on Instagram and Twitter, it's Sassy Sledgehammer, which of course is my nod to Nancy. Sassy Sledgehammer and the full Sledgehammer on Instagram, and Sassy Sledgehammer, Sassy SSLEDG. I think it's EMMR. I had to remove a couple of letters because they wouldn't allow me. So it's Sassysledgehammer, Sassysledgehammer. And that is also my username on TikTok. But you'll find a lot more Regina content there. But you will find
the Freddie stuff is so good. The Freddie stuff is so good on the TikTok. And the mask you have that. What is it? Is that just like some
Dark
kind of
Ride
really
Studios?
But is that silicone? Is that
it
latex?
It is. It's by James Updegraff. He has hands down the best Freddie mask, which this one right here is the Trick or Treat Studios. I should probably switch it out to be the mask, but we use it so much that we try to keep consistency with filming that I haven't put it back here. I want to put it on display, but yeah, it's a Dark Ride Studios mask, and it fits on your face like a glove, and you could just move your mouth as much as possible. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Big Money Jason's back?
Yes, he is.
Can I say hi to Jason? Is it okay?
Come here. Yeah. Come here, Jason.
I want to say hi to Jason.
Jason, come back here.
Is he running away?
He's running away.
Damn it. Okay.
Oh, come back. He's going to come back. See?
Look
at this. Are you going to come back? Hello? I don't know. He might be the mystery.
Okay.
We'll see.
That's cool.
But yeah, this is the mask.
Let me make you
I mean, it's got a little bit of a tear over here, but I'm probably gonna have to paint over it. But this is like your baby Freddie. This guy is pretty much made to order. James is working on a couple of masks now, but otherwise you just have to hunt eBay. He doesn't even have a website that you can find these on. So I found this guy when we decided to do the little show. I found him, and he was the only one, and it was a discounted price, but still a lot of money because these ones are hefty, but it is an incredible investment. And this was one of my white whales beforehand, a glove, and this, because for years I just have always loved watching Freddie cosplay videos, Freddie mask movement videos, and Freddie glove videos. And to finally get one of these is just such a treat. And it is the nightmare too. And in my opinion, this is the best one that he has.
Now, let me ask you, like, wearing that, like, do you have to, like, because I'm thinking about that, like, does that hurt your hair or anything, wearing something like that? Do you have to, like, what's the, because I have longish hair too, so I'm wondering, like, what's the process of putting that thing on? Is it just
I basically put it on like a wig. Yeah,
right.
I basically put it on like a wig. So I have a wig sock cap. And I just put my hair up in a bun and I put it underneath, or I put it up in a ponytail and I try to flatten it on top of my head because my hair is getting longer. Then I put on the wig cap, and then I put this guy on. So then it goes on much, much smoother. It's basically like a lift into his neck and pull over and then adjust, and it goes on pretty easily. But in that time when I pull it over, the wig cap moves back, but it doesn't hurt my hair because it's already on, and like everything's situated. The hardest part would be getting it on. But yeah, it really fits your face. So if you could find one of these, these are so cool.
I got into the busts, but like the display versions. Like, I don't know if you can see it. I've got a part 2 up there, but they're like,
I would love one.
The devil.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love your collection.
Thank you. I've got a part 2 and I got a part 4 over there. They got Santa hats on, but yeah, those are great. Yeah. Do you have, last thing, I don't want to keep you too much longer. Do you have a new Nightmare style hand thing?
I really, really want one. I've been having my eye on Anders Ericsson.
Who was that?
Nightmare Gloves.
NightmareGloves.com or
Annas Ericsson, because I think he's Norwegian. And his name is spelled like Anders, but it's pronounced differently. But he does Nightmare Gloves, and he has the best new Nightmare hand that I've ever seen. And I still want one of his. And he has partnered with a lot of official shops, and he is Robert's glove maker of choice. So,
really?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds great. So you're probably more tapped into where to find some of this stuff than me. I usually just have to Google search stuff to find it, but
yeah, if you want help finding like anything, I could pretty much know who is like the top or who can make stuff. Like, I'm a part of a couple Freddie glove Ninja. It's called the Freddy Glove Ninja Clan on Facebook, and
Okay.
they share a lot of the glove work and then cosplay work as well. So if there's any of those kind of replica props or anything like sweaters, the hat, this guy, some other masks, anything like that, and then of course just a bunch of different props that I've seen over the years.
Yeah. You did hook me up with getting the TV show of homebrew of the series Freddy's Nightmare. So
Cool.
I got that. Yeah.
Nice.
So
how's it coming? Is it pretty good?
Like the show?
Did they fix like the quality? Is yours pretty good?
Mine looks great. I've got a couple of them now.
Okay.
I had a buddy that sent me some, and I'm just like, wow, like yeah, they shined them up as best as they could, you know.
Good.
I'm such a
yeah,
fan
because they sent me that first one. Love that first episode. Love that first episode. They did a really nice job with that. It's silly as all get up, and I'll never understand why they didn't tie it into the movies better, but it is good.
Yeah, I love how Freddy has X-ray vision like a predator. Oh, Diandra, listen, I want to thank everybody for hanging out, and we got a lot of FredHeads in the chat, it looks like, so that's awesome. Diandra, thank you for giving me your time. I really, really appreciate it. You were awesome. So they say don't meet your heroes, but you were great, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. This has been such a fun time. I really appreciate you having me on. And like I said, like if you ever want to talk literally anything Elm Street, I told you I'm going to start back up Elm Street Radio, and I'll bring you on, and we'll just talk about the hot topics that come with A Nightmare on Elm Street, because I love doing that with people. So
I'd be honored.
We'll do that.
I'd be honored. Okay, well, listen, chat, thank y'all. Be sure you go follow Diandra on Captain Sassy Media and look her up on TikTok and all that. You probably have already seen her, but just in case you haven't, go do that. She's great. She makes awesome content. So thank you guys for watching. Diandra, thank you again for coming on. And everybody have a good night.